connected souls. I am Naomi, and from my serene refuge, where the only sound competing with the song of the nearby stream is the soft rustling of rice paper under my brush, I warmly welcome you to Minimalist Enchantment. Today I want us to explore a different forest together, one that is not made of trees and earth, but of light and code, a forest where many of us spend countless hours, the vast and often overwhelming digital world. I remember a recent afternoon watching a group of young people in a cafe. Their faces, illuminated by the blue glow of their screens, showed a mixture of concentration and subtle tension. They barely exchanged glances. The incessant murmur of notifications and the promise of something more on the other side of the glass seemed to have completely captured them. I couldn't help but think of my grandmother Akiko, the way she would immerse herself in tending her small moss garden, each gesture slow and deliberate, finding a universe of peace in a space no larger than a tea tray. The difference was palpable, an immersion that nourished versus one that often seems to drain us. We live in an age of technological overload. Screens accompany us from the moment we wake up to the moment we close our eyes, promising us connection, information, and entertainment. But at what cost? Many of us feel constant digital fatigue, a subtle but persistent anxiety, the feeling of always being on, our attention fragmented like a broken mirror. We feel disconnected from ourselves, from others, and from the natural rhythm of life, even while we are hyperconnected. Japanese minimalism, with its profound wisdom about intention, presence, and harmony with our environment, offers us an invaluable perspective. And just as in Japan there is the practice of Shinrin-Yoku, Senrin-Yu, literally forest bathing to heal the body and mind through immersion in nature, today I want to propose an adaptation, digital Shinrin-Yoku. Together we will explore some paths, 7 forest baths for our minds, which will help us navigate the digital ecosystem with greater serenity, intention, and well-being. One of the first and most vital practices for finding relief in this digital forest is to create spaces of scheduled digital silence, something like finding a quiet, peaceful clearing in the middle of the thicket. In Japanese aesthetics and philosophy, the concept of ma, jian, is fundamental. Ma is empty space, the interval, the pause. It is not an absence, but an active presence that gives meaning and allows energy to flow. Our digital days, however, are often devoid of ma. We are saturated with information and constant stimuli. Implementing deliberate moments of disconnection, even brief ones, can be deeply restorative. It is not about demonizing technology, but about using it consciously, allowing our minds to rest and recharge. I met Javier, an entrepreneur from Buenos Aires, whose business depended heavily on his online presence. His phone vibrated incessantly, his inbox was overflowing, and he felt that if he disconnected for an hour, the world would fall apart. He lived in a constant state of alert, his sleep was shallow, and his creativity had stagnated. "Naomi, I feel like I'm chasing my own digital tail," he confessed to me with a mixture of humor and despair. I suggested she start small, schedule 2 15-minute micro-silence breaks a day, where she would turn off all notifications and simply be present, perhaps drinking tea or looking out the window. At first it was difficult. The urge to check was strong, but gradually, those small pockets of silence began to expand. He discovered that the world didn't collapse, and that he returned to his tasks with a clearer and more focused mind. Those moments of digital ma became his sanctuary. Perhaps you could start by designating the first hour after waking up and the last hour before going to sleep as screen-free zones, allowing your day to begin and end in a space of greater inner calm. This practice naturally leads us to another important path, cultivating an inner digital garden, choosing with intention which plants we allow to grow in our minds. A wild forest can be beautiful, but it can also harbor invasive or poisonous species. Our digital environment is similar. We are exposed to an avalanche of content, and not all of it is nourishing. Just as a gardener carefully selects the seeds they plant, we can learn to be conscious curators of our digital diet. This involves asking ourselves, does this content inspire me, inform me in a constructive way, connect me genuinely, or leave me feeling anxious, comparative, or empty? Minimalism is not just about reducing physical objects, but also about simplifying our mental and emotional inputs. I think of Sophia, a journalist in Mexico City who felt constantly overwhelmed and pessimistic. Her job required her to stay on top of the news, but she had slipped into an almost compulsive consumption of negative information, even in her free time. Her social media feeds were an echo of conflict and tragedy. "I feel like I'm carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders, Naomi," she told me, her eyes tired. I suggested she apply the principle of shitsurai, shii, which in Japanese culture refers to the art of preparing and arranging a space for a specific occasion or purpose, creating a harmonious atmosphere. I suggested that she furnish her digital space with the same intention, that she silence or unfollow accounts that caused her distress, that she actively seek out sources of inspiration, beauty, or constructive knowledge, that she spend time reading in-depth articles instead of just alarmist headlines. Little by little, her digital garden began to flourish with content that nourished her rather than drained her. She noticed a significant change in her mood and perspective. I invite you to review your own digital plantings. What type of content are you predominantly consuming? Could you introduce more species that bring you calm, joy, or inspiration? And this brings me to another crucial reflection on our digital Shinrin-Yoku, practicing mindful monotask, as if we were observing a single tree closely rather than trying to take in the entire forest at a glance. Digital multitasking, with its multiple open tabs and constant switching between apps, has become the norm. But our brains are not designed for it. This fragmentation of attention not only reduces our efficiency, but also increases our stress levels and diminishes our ability to concentrate deeply. In Japan, mastery of any art, from the tea ceremony, chado, to archery, kyudo, is based on total concentration and absolute presence in the moment. We can apply this principle to our use of technology. I remember Daniel, a graphic designer in Lima, Peru, who was incredibly talented but struggled to complete his projects on time. His virtual desktop was a mess of open windows, and he was constantly jumping from design software to email to social media to instant messages. "I feel like my mind is a swarm of bees, Naomi. I go from flower to flower, but I don't produce any honey," he described to me with frustration. I proposed an experiment. For 1 hour a day, he would focus on a single digital task, closing all other applications and notifications. If he was designing, he would only design. If he was answering emails, he would only do that. The first few days were challenging. He felt the pull of distraction, but he persevered. He soon discovered that he was not only more productive, but he also enjoyed his work more. The quality of his attention improved, and with it, the quality of his designs. Instead of feeling exhausted at the end of the day, he felt satisfied. Maybe you could try this. When you sit down to work on a specific task on your computer, close all irrelevant tabs and applications. Put your phone in airplane mode or in another room. Allow yourself to immerse yourself completely in one thing. You'll be surprised by the calm and clarity you can find. Another forest bath we can give ourselves in the digital world is to immerse ourselves in sounds and visuals that are genuinely healing, such as listening to birdsong or watching light filter through the leaves. Not all digital content is loud or overwhelming. There is a vast universe of relaxing music, nature sounds, guided meditations, documentaries about the natural world, or even online art galleries that can have a deeply calming and restorative effect on our nervous system. It's about actively seeking out those clear water springs in the digital forest. In Japanese culture, there is a great appreciation for subtle and evocative beauty, for that which calms the spirit, a concept that sometimes borders on yugen, yushuan, that deep and mysterious beauty that suggests more than it shows. Laura, a high school teacher in Santiago, Chile, came home every day feeling exhausted and with her head full of the noise and demands of her day. She used to turn on the TV or surf the internet aimlessly, which often left her feeling even more scattered. In conversation, we explored the idea of creating a digital transition ritual. Instead of immersing herself in more noise, she decided to actively seek out content that would calm her. She discovered YouTube channels with long recordings of natural landscapes and soft instrumental music. She created playlists with sounds of waves or birdsong. "Naomi, it's like opening a window to a quiet forest in my own living room," she told me. 10 or 15 minutes of listening to these sounds, just breathing, helps me release the tension of the day and reconnect with myself. You can explore this by spending a few minutes each day listening to music designed for relaxation or watching a short documentary about nature. Notice how you feel. Are there certain sounds or images that give you a sense of peace, similar to what you might feel in a natural setting? Of course, no digital Shinrin-Yoku would be complete without the art of meaningful disconnection, creating sacred moments where technology is turned off completely to allow for a deeper connection with ourselves and those around us. This goes beyond simply silencing notifications. It's about setting aside periods where we consciously choose not to be available to the digital world so we can be fully present in the real world. In Japanese culture, the quality of presence in human interactions is highly valued. Think of the tea ceremony, where every gesture is imbued with attention and respect, creating a space of genuine communion. Our devices often get in the way of this connection. Miguel and Ana, a couple from Madrid, realized that although they spent a lot of time together at home, much of that time was spent with each of them absorbed in their own devices. Conversations were interrupted by notifications. Dinners were spent with the TV on in the background or with cell phones on the table. They felt a growing disconnect. "It's like we're in the same room but miles apart," Anna confided to me. They decided to implement analog nights twice a week. During those nights, all devices were turned off and stored in a drawer. They played board games, cooked together, and talked without interruption. At first, they confessed to feeling a kind of withdrawal syndrome, an almost automatic urge to reach for their phones. But soon they rediscovered the pleasure of each other's company, the depth of uninterrupted conversations, and the simple joy of being fully present for one another. Perhaps you could start by declaring mealtimes as technology-free zones, or designate one afternoon on the weekend for completely unplugged activities. Notice how the quality of your interactions and your own mood changes. Related to this, it's essential to establish clear digital boundaries, like well-defined trails in a forest that guide us and protect us from getting lost in the undergrowth. In our digital lives, the boundaries between work and personal life, between public and private time, often blur until they almost disappear. We respond to work emails late at night and check social media at times that should be for rest or intimate connection. This lack of boundaries is a major source of stress and exhaustion. Minimalism teaches us the importance of boundaries, of assigning each thing its own time and space. Just as in a traditional Japanese home, each room has a clear function and objects are put away when not in use, we can apply this principle to our digital lives. I met Carolina, a lawyer in Bogota, who felt that her work completely invaded her life. Email notifications came to her phone at all hours, and she felt compelled to respond immediately, even on weekends. Her personal life was shrinking. "I feel like I live in my office, even when I'm at home," she told me, visibly overwhelmed. I suggested she set clear digital office hours. She should turn off work email notifications outside of her working hours and let her colleagues and clients know that she would only check and respond to messages at specific times. At first, she feared they would perceive her as less committed, but to her surprise, most respected her boundaries, and she regained precious time for herself, her family, and her hobbies. Her productivity at work actually improved because when she was working, she was more focused. You too can set your own boundaries. Decide what times of day you will check your social media or personal email and stick to it. Communicate your boundaries to those who need to know. Protecting your time and mental space is an essential act of self-care. Finally, the 7th digital forest bath I want to share with you is to cultivate a contemplative digital gaze, looking for moments of komorebi on the internet. Komorebi is that untranslatable Japanese word that describes the ephemeral beauty of sunlight filtering through the leaves of trees. These are moments of awe and wonder that nature offers us. Although the digital world can be overwhelming, it can also hold moments of beauty, deep human connection, and inspiring learning. It's about training our attention to find them, rather than letting ourselves be swept away by the tide of noise and superficiality. It's a way of practicing mindfulness as we navigate the digital space. Mateo, a young college student in Valparaiso, Chile, often felt alienated and cynical about the online world, seeing it only as a source of distraction and comparison. I encouraged him to actively seek out those flashes of digital komorebi, to follow artists whose work moved him, scientists who shared fascinating discoveries, writers whose prose made him think, to pause and appreciate a beautiful photograph, read a kind and thoughtful comment, marvel at a video showcasing incredible human creativity or the beauty of the planet. He discovered online communities of people passionate about astronomy and began spending time contemplating amazing images of the cosmos shared by observatories around the world. "Naomi, it's like finding pearls in a sea of information," he told me. "It's changed the way I look at the internet. Now I actively seek inspiration in beauty, rather than just passively consuming. I invite you to do the same. When you're online, pause every now and then and ask yourself, is there anything here that is truly beautiful, inspiring, or meaningful? Allow yourself to savor those moments as you would sunlight filtering through the leaves in a real forest. My dear friends, digital Shinrin-Yoku is not about rejecting technology, but about transforming ourselves into conscious navigators of this vast and complex ecosystem. Just as a forest bath reconnects us with nature and ourselves, these practices can help us find a healthier and more harmonious balance in our digital lives. It's about applying the ancient wisdom of minimalism and nature appreciation to the challenges of our modern world, creating spaces of calm, intention, and genuine connection. We don't need to leave the digital forest, but we can learn to walk through it with more wisdom, choosing our paths, cultivating our clearings of silence, and allowing our minds to be nourished by what truly enriches them. Imagine a relationship with technology that energizes you rather than drains you, that fosters clarity rather than confusion, and that allows you to be more present in your own life. This transformation is possible, one small conscious step at a time. As a Zen proverb my grandmother Akiko used to quote while gazing at her garden says, "Mizu sumite tsuki kokoro ni utsuru." When the water is calm, it reflects the moon in the heart. May we, by calming the torrent of our digital lives, reflect more clearly the beauty of our own inner being and the world around us. I sincerely hope that these reflections on digital Shinrin-Yoku have offered you tools and inspiration to find more peace in this technological age. If these ideas have resonated with you, I warmly invite you to join our community at Encanto Minimalista. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring these paths to a more serene and purposeful life together. And if you found this message helpful, please give us a like. Your support helps us spread these seeds of awareness to more people who may be looking for a break. Now I would love to hear from you. Comment below which of these 7 digital forest baths you feel you need most in your life right now, or what small action you are willing to take this week to cultivate a little more Shinrin-Yoku in your digital daily life. Write "My Digital Forest of Calm" if you commit to exploring these practices. Thank you so much for your time and attention. May you find clarity and serenity in your own forests, both natural and digital. Matane.